schools of thought.
Well, let me put it like this. Here's a weird quote of the day that I just invented. This is Rex's quote of the day. I don't think Homo sapiens deserve to have the technology we have progressed to yet. We can't handle it.
We can't.
Responsibly. We cannot. Dude, we just kill each other with it. We need to get back to the basics, man. Like, hey, can we all get along first? Okay, now after we truly decide how to get along and explore all the technology of getting along and loving each other and having constructive behavior, now let's build stuff, but let's not use it to burn each other in half and blow up each other's cities and do all this terrible stuff and create like false matrix universes which replace our in like actual like relationships with every human we ever could have possibly known because we're like drooling on a Nintendo game. Okay. How about let's use that to advance the species then? Like, okay, if we all love each other and want to help each other, let's build spaceships and explore the universe and do fun stuff and something cool, you know?
And we were talking about that same exact thing before, about the balance between responsibility and technology and having both in your life at the same time and trying to use one without exploiting the other.
But, you know, there's self-balancing mechanisms in all of science. You look at a curve, a population of rabbits and coyotes, and they oscillate. Because after the rabbits get too much, the coyotes start getting full. And the rabbits go down, and then the coyotes go up, and then it oscillates back and forth. You know what I'm talking about? The K-curve or whatever in science?
But it always remains in balance.
Right. But I think we're about to hit one of them, see?
Yeah.
You can't develop all this technology irresponsibly without paying the consequences. We lean on it 100%, man. And when it goes down, we're all toast. Not to mention, we have 10,000 nuclear warheads everywhere. So maybe we'll launch them at each other and that'll straighten that out for like a few thousand years. And we'll go back to caveman mode so that we can re-explore like, hey, can we get along or not?
How are we supposed to love one another?
So like our irresponsible like development of technology will also stabilize itself eventually. You know what I mean? You just can't. It has to happen. Like it's just a law of how it works, you know? Unless like a miracle would happen, which would be cool. Like we all like snap out of it, but I kind of don't think it will because once technology and knowledge in of itself, not productively used, becomes your God, it's like a bad, twisted situation.
Yeah, it is.
The knowledge of good and evil is what brought about all this terrible stuff. Knowledge can be good, but it's unless it's like effectively modulated and filtered into that love category, man, it's very destructive.
I was going to say earlier too, just the availability, you know, and we were talking about this earlier in this show, but the availability of knowledge, how much it has progressed. Anybody can know anything about anything, pretty much. I mean, there's some stuff that it's a little bit harder to get a hold of, but anybody can know anything about anything by going online, if they really know where to look. And the availability of knowledge being that so free without the responsibility factor in there is really, I mean, that's where you start to see the flaws and the morality flaws and the things like that, because people are not sure how to handle it, and they're not ready because knowledge is power. They're not ready for that power, and so it's being abused and it's being misused and it's being mistreated, and there's nobody to correct the situation because it isn't people talking to people anymore. It's people and machines, and there's a flaw there. You know, humans are social beings, and I think that morality is a human characteristic, and so you're not going to get that from the internet, and you're not going to get that from a computer, and so there is no decipher there for people that aren't responsible and aren't ready to handle it. And eventually, I think that just the availability of knowledge is going to become overpowering, and I mean, eventually, like when shit does hit the fan, I think it's going to be of our own doing because we were unable to handle the amount of knowledge that we received.
And some people might wonder why we mix the studies that we just did when we're talking about the employment of weapons technology to the exploration of morality.
Boy.
It seems like a contradiction, right? But here's the deal. People are going to have weapons technology, but they better be employing it in a moral and just way. You know what I'm saying? So like with that kind of like advancement, like we're talking about earlier, there's a huge responsibility to clearly articulate what it is to be righteous. You know what I'm saying?
And that comes back to the Constitution, my man, the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And when we say that everybody has the right to bear and hold arms and yada, 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 that comes with the assumption that everybody's going to use those arms for the greater good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, too, is that in general, most people are usually less corrupt than people who seek to control people. So tyrannical systems come in place a lot of times in history. I'm saying like with the King of England, whoever, or in a dictatorship in a different country, right? Where these people seek to control. Who seeks to control everybody? Usually people who ain't as good as the people being controlled, right? They're relatively innocent, relatively, okay? And so generally, if the arms are distributed evenly amongst everyone, because there's a monopoly of force usually by the tyrannical king, okay? He's usually the guy with all the knights with swords. But if the plebs and all these normal farmer people also have the swords, you have the monopoly of powers not weighed towards the king himself, but it's evenly distributed, which kind of self-regulates the level of atrocity that can happen and the level of like tyrannical overreach that can happen on these people. Like he can't just go around and raping and pillaging the villages anymore because the checking mechanism has kicked in, because people in general, like... Would you rather have, right, name like 10 world leaders and then name 10 normal guys off the street? And I would rather have those 10 normal guys off the street have more guns than the 10 world leaders, because they're usually a bunch of turkeys, man. You know what I mean? Like they just have a bad track record of torture and pillage and killing and death and all this stuff. So I think that the more the equation is like with the arms and the knowledge of defense amongst normal law-abiding people, seems like it self-regulates to some degree. And that's what the founding fathers intended when they armed the population to keep the masters in check, because the masters aren't supposed to be masters. They're supposed to be representatives of the people, not the lords of the people, because that's a very destructive position to have. People cannot wield that kind of power.
Well said.
I agree.
Well said, man.
That's great.
Yeah, so like it's one of them arguments. People will get a little concerned or confused sometimes. Like, okay, Rex, why are you talking about this Bible stuff all the time? Well, dude, like seriously, I have to, because like I see that as one of the templates which helps people maintain their moral composure. Because like I would rather that we all, dude, I don't want to have a war. I don't want to have a gunfight. I don't want to have to ever use a rifle for anything. Dude, when I shoot rifles anymore, it's like shooting at targets, like steel targets. I don't even shoot animals. I don't shoot deer. I don't shoot prairie dogs. I don't shoot birds. I let them all live. I see a bunny rabbit eating my flowers. Most dudes run back there and blow them away. I'm just like, you know what? He was hungry, man. Like the bunny rabbit's actually cuter than the flower to me. You know what I mean? Like the flower's cool. It'll grow back. Just let them hop around, dude. Like my heart is like really like changed a lot in the last 15 years on stuff. So like, that's just like what the way I feel is like, I would rather have peace. I value peace. I mean, if anyone goes to one of them other places where peace don't exist, you quickly get exhausted from that. And I don't like that stuff. Like, I would rather we just have peace over here. And so that's my wish. But to maintain the peace, sometimes you have to have the arms distribution be more even. And so that's kind of that's why I still talk about it. Long range shooting to me is a hobby. But in an application defense of the nation to preserve liberty of the people, I think that that's a worthy cause. But you got to be careful at the same time. You know what I'm saying? You have a moral responsibility at that point to then explain, like, dude, here's the objective. Like people who want to get in a gunfight, like I get some. This is the secret top inside knowledge that maybe I haven't talked about on the channel, okay? But like in my position of being the YouTube shooting guy, right, who does I shoot like a beer can or whatever, and people they like that.
Yeah, they go crazy.
Yeah, it's not normal, I guess, in New York City where you shoot beer cans at whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And they think that's cool. Or like maybe some people never really learn that craft or whatever. That's fine. So like I do this, but you become kind of a celebrity. So a lot of weird people coming out of the woodworks to try to like, be your friend, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so I get a lot of weird people coming around who are like on what I would consider to be radical side, okay? Or maybe they're not. And maybe their intentions, I don't know what their intentions are, but I don't really want to know. Like I get a lot of these groups to where I'm like, I could agree with your stated mission points. Like, so they call me and they're like, hey, will you come train our guys? I'm like, no, I won't. I cannot endorse any group, man. The only group I endorse is the family unit. I'm talking the father's the man of the house. He takes care of the wife. They all love each other. The kids, he protects the household. He teaches the family all this stuff, like preferably if that's the perfect, like picture perfect unit, or whoever it is, that's like has responsibility, the uncle, however it works. The family unit will self-preserve.
Yes, it will.
I don't trust these other groups, man, that like, even when they say we're fighting for freedom or we're here for this, or like I've been invited to a lot of different places. I never ever had taken any of those on because I can't trust that they're going to stay on the righteous path, because a lot of people are conflict junkies and they want stuff to go down because a lot of people just want to fight. They want to create problems. And these groups, the second you have a group with more than 10 people in it, it's easily manipulated by these people who are employing Hegelian dialectic process to pit other groups against each other, and they manipulate it, dude. So like you stay on the family unit, like, hey, we need to form a county militia. Like, well, kinda, but no, it needs to be the family unit, man. Like everyone should just be like self-sustainable. You know what I mean? If that was the case, you wouldn't need any of that stuff. So I don't support any of those deals really on the unit level because I can't vet that they're cool. And if they are cool today, tomorrow they might go nuts because some crazy guy got in charge of it. So it's just an interesting observation there I thought I'd throw out.
It's all kind of interesting because we talk a lot, this whole show, we're coming up on over 2 hours here already, actually, folks, which is pretty exciting. But this whole show, we've been talking about freedom and liberty and morality, good versus evil, all this stuff. And we at the same time, we've got a voice in our heads that tells us what's good and bad, right? And we've also got a constitution, and we've got a few good books that tell us what's right from wrong. Do we need those documents? Do we actually need a Bible? Do we need a constitution to tell us what's right from wrong?
That's a good question.
If we've got that voice in our head, do we actually need those documents, or is that just bullshit to get in the way to try to convolute the system?
Anything can be manipulated. However, I think there is a value to the writings, and this is why.